The first step in trading should cost you nothing from your bank account. This is an inviolable rule for starting the journey. The true payment is measured in entirely different categories of internal human existence. You pay with time, focus, and inner peace for every incorrect, chaotic move. We begin with a market simulation, but the psychological work at this stage is absolutely real and exhausting. A demo account is not a toy for entertainment, but a rigorous military training ground for your consciousness. Define what it means to win before you press the first virtual buy or sell button. Success here is determined not by profit, but by flawless adherence to a set internal code of conduct. Victory in this activity is a perfectly executed internal plan, and nothing else matters. The market offers an infinite number of stimuli to distract you from this goal. Every price candle on the chart carries a potential message of doubt or greed. Your task is to learn to filter out this external noise, focusing only on your own actions. Training is free, but the demands on internal structure remain as high as possible. When you begin to control your internal state, external chaos loses its destructive power.
Many beginners make the mistake of treating a demo account like a casino where the stakes are worthless. This behavior forms an extremely destructive habit that will later be almost impossible to break. Your consciousness records that breaking rules carries no real consequences. Therefore, the first rule is to treat virtual money as if it will become real tomorrow. This level of internal honesty with oneself is the hardest to achieve and requires constant control. We are forming the foundation for future work, not just playing with numbers.
It is necessary to establish physical boundaries that define your workspace in the market. Starting out requires selecting only one trading instrument to allow for complete focus. Study its rhythms, its typical behavior, and its reactions to significant external events. Avoid the temptation to jump between different assets looking for quick profits. Focus creates clarity, and clarity is the only advantage you can have over the market. This is a job that requires attention and deep, almost meditative immersion.
Start by forming a simple but rigid algorithm for entry and exit. An algorithm is your armor against the internal impulse that always strives for chaos. If the entry condition is not met, you simply stay aside, observing from the outside. If the exit is supposed to happen at a certain mark, you press the button without any internal debate. This is not just a set of steps, it is the creation of an internal machine that works without the interference of your mood. This approach will provide stability even when the market begins to show its greatest aggression. Every trade entry must be dictated solely by structure, not by a hunch or a desire to get even. You must know why you are here and exactly what the reason is for pressing the button. It must be a repeatable pattern that you have previously practiced dozens of times. We are not looking for perfect prices. We are looking for places where the breach of structure will be most obvious. This allows us to accurately place protection, limiting potential damage. Before entering, visualize the full path the price must take to confirm you are right. Determine where the zone is that completely refutes your initial hypothesis. This point is your stop, and it is set before you open the position. If you cannot clearly define this point, then do not enter this trade at all. Your primary goal is to protect capital, even if it is virtual, from unjustified losses. In the initial stage, focus exclusively on short-term fluctuations that provide quick feedback. This allows you to accelerate the learning process, as the results of your decisions are visible almost immediately. Of course, this increases internal pressure, but it is necessary for tempering your resilience. Each short trading cycle is a completed lesson that must be analyzed with emotional attachment. Start with 5-minute or 15-minute charts to feel the pulse of the price. Use only those analytical tools that you understand absolutely perfectly, without any assumptions. Do not overload your chart with a multitude of lines and indicators that only create an illusion of control. Simplicity allows your mind to process information faster and make decisions under time pressure. The fewer variables you introduce, the easier it will be to identify the cause of failure or success. Pure action requires a clean, uncluttered field of vision. When the structure is ready and the stop is defined, the moment of entry should be almost mechanical, without hesitation. Hesitation before entry is already the first psychological mistake that destroys your algorithm. Remember that at this stage, you are simply following a pre-written instruction. If you start debating with yourself whether it's worth entering, you have already yielded control to internal doubt. Trading is a game of execution, not a game of impulsive genius.
A mistake is not a loss, but a violation of your own pre-established algorithm of action. You must treat losses as an inherent part of the process that confirms the incorrectness of the initial hypothesis. If your stop is triggered, it means the market has communicated new important information to you. Accept this information with absolute indifference and move on to the next chance. The hunger to compensate for what was lost is the shortest path to psychological self-destruction.
You must learn to set a stop not based on how much money you are willing to lose. Instead, the stop should be placed where your idea regarding the price movement ceases to be logical. This is called the point of structural invalidity, the place where the chart says you are wrong. Ignoring this point means trying to argue with the market, which always leads to catastrophic consequences. You cannot change the price movement, but you can always change your reaction to it.
Even on a free account, never trade with a volume you could not afford to use in real life. Exceeding a realistic volume creates an illusion of quick success that will later carry over into your real work. Virtual millions in an account create an internal permission for irresponsibility. We are building resilience, not mirages of fabulous wealth in one day. Learning takes time, and no amount of volume can speed up the formation of true experience. Focus your attention on what you control: your decision to enter, the location for the stop, and the decision to exit. Everything else, price movement, external news, the behavior of other participants, is beyond your influence. Accepting this truth frees you from excessive internal tension and the need to control the uncontrollable. The Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations about the importance of this internal distinction. True strength lies in the ability to accept the external world as it truly is.
We have talked a lot about control and internal structure, but where do you find the strength to stick to these rules when the pressure mounts? The answer lies in the philosophy of a man who governed an empire in the midst of chaos. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is not just a classic, it is a strategic manual for those who operate in conditions of total uncertainty. This book will teach you how to separate your emotions from the objective reality of the market, maintain a cold, clear mind after any loss, act according to logic rather than under the influence of impulse. The link to the book Meditations, Stoic Principles for Developing Mental Strength is located directly below this video. Build your inner fortress before the market puts your strength to the test. Victory begins in your mind. If you have opened a position and the price starts moving against you, your task is not to hope, but to wait for the stop to be triggered. Learn to endure this pressure, remaining completely detached from the result of this specific operation. Hope is a passive and destructive emotion that paralyzes the ability for rational thinking. Accepting the loss before it occurs is the key to maintaining internal balance. You have already defined the maximum damage, so let the market finish its work.
Once a position is open, step away from the monitor and engage in something else that requires high concentration. This helps break the vicious cycle of constant observation, which breeds doubt. Every second of watching price fluctuations feeds your internal anxiety. Return only when time or price reaches a certain pre-established boundary. Your decision has been made, and intervention now can only make it worse by adding subjectivity.
You need to develop a profit-taking system that is also structurally justified. Profit should be taken not when you feel that it's enough, but when the price reaches an objective target. The target could be a previously defined zone of resistance or support where a change in dynamics is expected. Successful trading requires the same mechanical dispassion as a trade that ended in a loss. Learn not to let profit trigger a sense of permissiveness or overconfidence.
It is necessary to clearly distinguish between the market and your opinion about the market. These are two completely different phenomena. The market exists independently of your position, your expectations, or your financial state. Your opinion is merely an interpretation, which may be wrong 9 times out of 10. Realizing this gap is the basis for reducing internal psychological tension. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and accept the consequences without self-blame.
Even when you exit a trade with a profit, you must ask yourself, were all steps of the algorithm followed? If you made money by violating your own rules, it is a much worse harm than a small loss. Such success teaches you that chaotic actions can bring rewards. This is a time bomb that will inevitably go off when you start trading real money. Every success must confirm the correctness of your structure, not your luck.
Use a demo account to practice perfect entry in situations where you would usually hesitate. This allows you to expand the boundaries of your psychological comfort zone without financial consequences. Try entering at the most aggressive points, but always with a tight preset stop. This is training for reaction speed and the ability to act in conditions that seem irrational. Only in this way can you prepare yourself for real, unpredictable price movements when you start real work.
You are ready to switch to a real account, not when you have reached a certain amount of profit on a demo account. Readiness comes when you can execute your algorithm 10 times in a row without violating a single point. This is internal confirmation that your consciousness has submitted to the rules you established. Money is only a byproduct, not the main criterion of your professional maturity. Even a total absence of losses is not proof of readiness. Only consistency matters. Every action you perform must have a clear and logical explanation that can be laid out on paper. If you cannot explain why you bought or sold, it is an action dictated by impulse. Train yourself to stop and ask, what exactly made me do this, and does it comply with the instructions? Such constant internal revision eliminates blind spots in your thinking and reactions. Clarity of thought is your only tool for navigating the complex financial world. Stop evaluating yourself by the final financial result of each individual trade. Instead, evaluate yourself by the quality of execution of the process you have set for yourself. Quality of execution is the only element subject to your full control. If you followed the rules perfectly but lost money, the trade was successful in the context of your learning. If you made money but broke the rules, the trade was a failure in the context of your preparation.
Do not let success on a demo account create an illusion of invincibility. This is the most dangerous psychological trap. Virtual success gives a sense of omnipotence that will shatter against the very first real loss. Remember that when real money is at stake, internal pressure will increase tenfold. You must prepare your mind for this increase in pressure by remaining humble and focused on structure. Success should be quiet and disciplined, not loud and arrogant. The transition from demo to real money should be gradual and almost imperceptible to your internal state. Start with the minimum possible volume that does not cause any internal fear or worry. Your goal at this stage is not to make money, but to feel the difference between virtual and real pressure. Maintain the same algorithm and the same criteria for entry that you practiced for free. This is a smooth bridge between simulation and reality that minimizes psychological shock. If you feel that you cannot execute your entire algorithm due to internal resistance, execute it partially. For example, if you are unsure about an entry but the conditions are met, do it with the minimum volume. This allows you to maintain the flow without completely breaking the rule, and it teaches you to manage fear. Partial execution is better than a complete refusal to execute the plan due to worry. You must always move forward, even if that movement is microscopic and cautious. Use long pauses between trades to clear your mind of accumulated tension and external stimuli. Do not trade if you feel tired, angry, or overly joyful. These states hinder clarity. The market will be working tomorrow and a week from now, so you won't miss anything critical. The ability to step away from the monitor and restore inner peace is a sign of professional maturity. Trading requires absolute psychological freshness to make even the simplest decisions. You must learn to identify your internal breaking point, the moment when you are ready to break the rules. For some, it happens after 2 consecutive losses. For others, after an unexpectedly large profit. When you feel this point approaching, immediately close all positions and stop working. This is an act of self-defense that prevents impulsive, destructive actions that always lead to significant losses. Never let a single destructive emotion determine the outcome of the entire workday. Always learn to let go of the price after you have exited, regardless of the result. If you exited with a profit, do not regret the further price movement you did not capture. If you exited with a stop, do not check if the price returned to your entry level. Such behavior sustains a toxic feeling of what if, which destroys your belief in the algorithm. Your job is done, and the further movement of the market has nothing to do with you. Train your ability for objective analysis. What went wrong with the structure, not with your financial result. Do this as dryly and factually as possible, excluding any evaluative judgments about yourself. For example, I entered before the price broke the level, rather than I was a fool for entering too early. This allows you to separate the learning process from personal self-esteem. This cold rationality is your main asset in the financial world. Define for yourself the maximum number of trades you can make during one trading day. This limit helps prevent overload and the impulsive search for new entries. When the limit is exhausted, your work is finished, regardless of whether the day was successful or not. This rule creates the necessary rhythm and prevents the abuse of your internal resource of attention. Quality always takes precedence over quantity in the world of financial operations. Never trade for the sake of the feeling of action. Trade only for the sake of executing the prepared structure. The desire to play with the market is a sign of boredom that quickly turns into irresponsibility. If you are sitting there and there are no obvious reasons to enter, your job is to wait. And that is the hardest part. Passive, focused waiting is just as important a part of the algorithm as pressing the button itself. Free trading teaches you to value not the action, but the pause that precedes the action. Learn to set time limits that allow the market to show whether you are right. If a position is in a state of limbo for too long, but reaches neither the stop nor the target, exit. Long waiting is often a sign that the movement lacks sufficient internal strength. Lost time is also a loss that must be considered in your calculations and planning. Your mental health should not be a hostage to an endless, uncertain trading position. If the market moves in a direction opposite to your expectations but does not reach the stop, you do nothing. Adding to a position that is going against you is the most common mistake of beginners, born of a desire to average down. This is an attempt to force reality to match your internal desires, which is absolutely destructive. Allow your stop to perform its protective function without interfering with this mechanism. Your task is to trust the structure you created yourself. Use this free stage to train internal consistency, which is more valuable than any profit. Resilience allows you to survive series of losses without retreating from the established order of actions. Like Marcus Aurelius, you should view external events as a training ground for internal virtue. Focus on being a perfect executor, and the market will eventually reward this constant internal work. A change in external circumstances should not affect your internal core. Before each workday, even on a demo account, formulate a clear intention regarding your expectations. The intention concerns not profit, but how you will react to certain predefined market situations. This could be a decision not to trade during the release of important economic news, or avoiding trading in a narrow range. Such a mental checklist helps avoid situations that provoke impulsive behavior. Starting work requires maximum concentration and psychological preparation. Always end the day by summarizing results, which includes assessing your internal state. You must determine how easy or difficult it was for you to follow the rules on this specific day. If you feel significant internal discomfort, it is a sign that you need a longer pause. Successful trading is a marathon, not a sprint, and you must preserve your internal energy. The experience gained is your true currency, more valuable than any virtual or real dollars.
When you switch to real money, start with a loss limit that you cannot exceed, regardless of the circumstances. This rule must be absolute, and its violation automatically means stopping trading for a week. Such a rigid mechanism of self-limitation is necessary to control the instinct of self-destruction. Use this limit as a second, most important stop that protects not only the position, but also your psyche. Without such a financial and psychological framework, you will not be able to survive in the long term.
When you switch to real money, start with a loss limit that you remember. That the free stage of trading is won by the one who creates a perfect internal structure. Winning is not the account on the monitor, but the flawless work of your internal decision-making mechanism. If the mechanism works perfectly, the market will take care of the financial result itself. You must be as boring, predictable, and mechanical as possible in your actions in the market. Elegance in trading lies in the simplicity of executing rigid but clear rules.
We end where we began. Success is determined by self-control, not by external factors. Use this time without financial risk to build an unshakable internal core. All the tools described here are tools for working with your consciousness, not with the chart. The market only reflects the level of preparation and internal clarity that you have been able to achieve. Victory begins long before you open your first real account.
Always remember the goal. You are building resilience, the ability to withstand pressure, and not just catching price movements. Resilience allows you to not panic when you see a large loss and not to become arrogant with a large profit. Every free trade is a brick in the construction of your mental fortress. Learn to value this process because it is the only thing the market cannot take away from you. This is the most important lesson you must learn before you put real money on the line. This free path requires more responsibility from you than any other stage. Virtual money masks the real danger hidden in your own impulses. When you finally move to a real account, you won't feel a difference because the internal rules will remain unchanged. It will simply be a change in numbers, not a change in the process of thinking and execution. And only such preparation gives you a real chance to win in this game of self-control.